I'd like to introduce group 14.9 to you. My name is Bridget, and I'll be covering the background of Mr. Mashaba. Prof's elaborated a lot, but I'll try and do my best to summarize. And then Norma, then to my left, will cover the strategic vision. And then we've got Bright that will talk us through the strategic risk-taking as well as leadership that Mr. Mashaba demonstrated throughout his career up until now. And then Paul will cover strategic execution. And then I'll end off with something which I found really powerful was Mr. Mashaba's business mantras. Okay, and then we'll go on to Ludwig and we'll follow the same format. But before we do that, we came across this very dynamic video clip which we'd love to share with you. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully because there's going to be questions afterwards.
Herman grew up in Hammanskraal, the village called Ramoti. He's from a family of 6, 2 brothers and 4 sisters. It was quite really a rough life. They had to steal water, they had to steal wood, just to survive. My name is Herman Mashaba. I am married to Herman Mashaba. We've been married for 34 years now. So I met Herman, it was his second year at varsity. Strong as he is, he couldn't just take what was happening in the country at the time. And when the studies were cut, he wanted to go fight for his country. But I was there in the picture, and eventually he decided that he will stay. When he left school, his brother-in-law recruited him to his work at Spa. And he worked there for, I think, about 9 months. He then went to work for Motani. And I think that's when he realized that he can be on his own because he worked for them for about 18 months. You know, from an early age in our lives, he wanted to be very, very independent to make sure that he doesn't depend on anyone, you know, but himself. And that's what he did. And then from there, we got married and then we bought a car. Its purpose really was to bring in the income.
Mr. Mashaba came to see me in 1983.
We were looking for money. Someone introduced them to Mr. Dube.
I used to import soft and free and start soft for hair product from Atlanta, Georgia. When Herman came to see me, he says, look, you've got an idea about the hair product. We are selling the hair product.
But I think as a businessman who had an idea of importing hair products, knew that this concept was a good concept. And that's when he said, yes, guys, I will back you. And the loan that he lent to Black Like Me was about 30,000 rand.
And I came up with the name, I said the name Black Like Me.
Which was very powerful, evocative, and we thought it would really attract. When we started on the 14th of February 1985, it was during that time when there was unrest. There was state of emergency one after another.
We placed orders and we bought and paid for 5,000 plastic bottles, beautifully printed and developed with this absolutely smashing Black Like Me logo. Connie and the helper was filling our products into beautiful little boxes. And Joe and Herman loaded this into their cars. They left about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, very enthusiastic. And I think it was about 3 o'clock when first Herman pulled into the yard of our factory, jumped out terribly excited. Johan, I'm sold out. I couldn't believe my eyes. A few minutes later, Joe arrived. Johan, I'm sold out. They sold the products at a good price. They came in with a hard cash.
Within a year, it was so good that we made, which was quite a lot of money at the time, 900,000 rand, the first year. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, 17th of November 1993, when we were called, the factory is on fire. I remember a lot of staff, really crying because they didn't know where they were going to go. They thought it was the end of Black Like Me and the end of their jobs. And Herman said to them, you know what? This is the test of life. And I'm going to be very strong. I'm going to look for another premises. Within 2 weeks, we managed to get our premises in Midrand. What we did, we made sure that every staff member coming from Harankua, coming from Hammanskraal, none of them lost their jobs. But we still did it, regardless of all those challenges that were there.
He's moved on beyond race, and I think he did that long ago. I think it's almost the opposite of BEE with him. He was interested in getting the right people as partners, the right people with whom to work.
Whether I'm in or I'm not in BE, it will continue. So that's when he decided, you know what, let me rather form Les Weekend.
Our main intention was at the time, to start off with mining.
As a BEE vehicle where he can come in and really invest in different companies.
We moved quite quickly to establish different businesses.
He commits to what he believes in.
Within a short time, a couple of years, we were involved from mining to construction to property.
But also he's very big in terms of giving back to the community. He was a patron of Field Band Foundation, teaching the kids life skills through music. He also got involved with women artists. 10 years later, we were already investing about 300,000 in this Black Like Us artist. Some of the artists are already exhibiting in New York, in Australia. The latest one is Free Market Foundation.
Herman's involvement with the Free Market Foundation started when he literally invited me to lunch and said, what do we do to save South Africa? We're in a crisis.
He's very passionate about it.
He's very happy for us to get out there and fight the fight for street vendors or the unemployed or the small businesses.
I would classify him as a red character.
Energetic, passionate, enthusiastic.
He wants to get up and go.
But in addition to that, he has principles and values which are important.
He mentions this all the time, that if you have integrity, people will trust you. People will give you jobs. People will want to work with you. And you have one reputation in life.
So every time I've watched this video clip, it's given me goosebumps. And right now we have Mr. Mashaba in our presence. So I hope we can do his legacy and everything that he's built over the years justice. So I'm not going to, if we move on to the next slide in terms of, can you have presentation? Yeah. I'm not going to rehash the background because I think Mrs. Connie Mashaba did that extremely well. And but I think what I do want to reflect on a bit is when I listen to the video clip, what are the key takeaways for me as an individual? And allow me to read the quote again that Mr. Mashaba posted. When you are poor and you do not have resources at your disposal, you learn to be creative with whatever opportunities and resources are available. Now that's a powerful quote, and I think it rings true for many of us, and it's really applicable and one can relate to it. And I think the reality is when you reflect on that video clip, that a powerful resource is yourself, you as an individual, as a leader. And when you reflect on Mr. Mashaba's journey in terms of being an entrepreneur, he himself made the choice. He made a goal. He was tenacious. He showed tenacity throughout the challenges. He showed determination. it was he himself that was influential and inspiring in terms of fostering relationships, but quality relationships that really helped him to be successful. So, you know, besides the challenging background and everything that he was faced, he still, through his own leadership characteristics, rose to a successful level. And what I would like to add in terms of his background is that Mr. Mashaba, and I don't know where he finds the time, serves on the board of 9 companies, which includes Stefanuti, Growth Point, and Edcon, and he holds a number of directorships, including being the chairperson of the Free Market Foundation. And as you've listened to Prof, he's co-authored 2 books, namely The Black Like You and The Capitalist Crusader. And what I can say is that Mr. Mashaba is a phenomenal leader, and really we stand in awe here of your achievements. And we thank you again for taking time out of your precious diary to spend time with us. I'll now hand over to Norma, who will take us through the strategic vision.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of the strategic vision, the vision of Black Like Me is to move beyond the race of business. That means working very hard, ongoing, and keep differentiating the brand amongst the other brands that are competing. Okay. In order to achieve the vision and the mission, there are core values involved, with one of them being excellence, meaning that producing consistently high quality products so that the customers are happy. And then empowering people, that includes the community projects, which have already, some of them have already been mentioned on the video clip. And one of those projects was the Field Band Foundation, which involves the music and the dancing. And then also there's this winning with the people. The current company MD, Mrs. Herman Mashaba, believed in and considering the ideas that come from the people as well. She's a person of integrity, high integrity. And then she doesn't take the employees for granted as well, as they give support in terms of succeeding the business. And then also they have this belief that they should focus on the customers. That means that they actually focus at giving the customers what they want. They don't take them for granted. They make sure that they meet their needs. I'm going to hand over to the next presenter.
Okay, my name is Bright Rodzi. What I'm going to do is also to just recap and to give you a summary of what was discussed in the video clip, with the intention of leading you to the next slide, which will talk about Mr. Mashaba's leadership qualities. And these points will tie in up quite nicely if you actually give us the time. The first point we are looking at is strategic risk-taking abilities. When he was affected at school, most of us would actually go back and beg to be taken back. But the first risk move he took was not to go back to school, to the university. We found that in 1982, also in his days as a salesman who was working on commission, he bought himself a Toyota Corolla. They say you paid about 3,000 rands cash as a deposit. Then every month you paid 180 rands for the next 3 years. Very responsible at the age of 22. However, he decided to go alone and form a business. But that time, as we all know, it was during the time of apartheid, and it was really difficult for a black young man entrepreneur to get sponsorship from the banks. But back then, he didn't feel sorry for himself. even with the legislative framework which was there, he decided to go it alone. On the 17th of November in 1993, his factory burnt down. Again, what does an ordinary man do? Play the blame game, try to revenge someone. He didn't do that. He picked up, he started running. From our research, we heard that he told these people that no one is going to lose a job. And it was true that not even one person lost the job. Within 2 weeks, production was running with the same people, same ladies, taking the products, black like me. Right, then the business is running now. He took another risky move where in 1997, he sold Black Like Me at 75% shares to Colgate-Palmolive. Then eventually he decided to take the business back. And again, we might need to understand the point that it is very, very rare to see that business competitors, it's very rare for business competitors to go into partnership with their opposites, you know. What he did in 2005, he sold 49.9% shares of Black Like Me to his competitors, the AMCA. But this was a strategic move to go into the world, to go into Africa, into Zimbabwe, Botswana, where you could see the black ladies there. Now, of course, in terms of business. All right, that was very impressive. There's quite a lot which we read through our research, and I, for one, was really impressed. Then the next slide now is now what I've been talking about. We are now tying it up to what we as a group decided to classify Mr. Mashaba as a leader. We say that to us, he's a transformational leader, very charismatic, but transformational. How do you define a transformational leader? There is a transactional leader who will give you money today, you do your job, he gives you money today, you are happy today, he's buying your services. But a transformational leader, he takes care about your tomorrow. He thinks of his community, he thinks of his country, he thinks of his continent and the world. So we see that he believes that every person must wake up either to go to school or to go to work. And he wishes his country to eradicate the culture of doing nothing and waiting for social grants. To us also, we say he is a charismatic leader with a multiplier effect, in that he believes that the role of the government is not to give handouts, but to create an environment that is supportive for entrepreneurial skills to develop and entrepreneurs to start businesses. Now, why do we decide to call Mr. Mashaba a transformational leader? Look at this. He had every reason to revenge someone, but he went above the rest long time ago. You saw it on the video. He did not seek to satisfy his thirst for economic freedom by drinking from the same cup of bitterness and hatred. So whenever we were reading about him, again and again we saw that he actually rose himself up and he met whatever he was facing with his entrepreneurial skills and also the soul force. So he reminds us all to rise up and to lift up ourselves from the dark and desolate valleys of segregation and to maintain that leadership qualities which will move our country forward. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mashaba and Prof. Yonka. Mr. Mashaba's success as an entrepreneur, as like the video said, having the right business partners in the business is obviously key to company success. Mr. Mashaba was a sales rep for a company called Superco back in the day, and through this he met his key business partner, Mr. Jan Kriel, which you saw in the video. He was a pharmacist at the time. Between the two of them, they created a top quality hair perm lotion, as you can see some of the products in the corner over there, that directly competed against his current company, Superco. Through this, he decided to pack it in and go on his own with Johan. And on Valentine's Day 1985, with himself, Jan Kriel, and his ex-colleague from Superco, Mr. Joseph Mulwantwa, sorry if I said that incorrect, Mr. Mashaba, Black Like Me was launched, and obviously Mr. Walter Dube, 30,000 Rand loan assisted them greatly. The next thing, in 2002, Mr. Mashaba decided to obviously grow his business and take it internationally. He then launched the product overseas in the UK. The goal obviously was to bring in a much bigger range. He brought in cosmetics, he brought in, as you can see there, he brought in fragrances to obviously widen the range and to gain the market share in his business. In 2003, he entered the personal care market, and then the big one, the AMCA merge. The merge of AMCA was the biggest BEE merge in the history of the beauty industry. Through this, it streamlined the distribution channels. AMCA originally had a distribution network in 39 African countries. Through this, Black Like Me could obviously capitalize on this and then grow the market as well. As well as increasing the buying power, and overall the main success was obviously market share. So the two of them merged together in 2004, and it really was a major success factor in the businesses. I will now hand over to Paul, who will do execution.
Hi, I'm Paul Parsons. I'm going to do the strategic execution. When we started looking at the strategic execution of the business, there's very little that there's in the form of a business model. So what we found is that actually the entrepreneur is the business model. So we found that the entrepreneur and his business venture is actually an entity on its own. You cannot split the two. So what you need to go on is you need to go on the traits and the values of the entrepreneur, and that will steer the business. Even Mr. Herman Mashaba at the stage said, when he was asked, why are you successful? He said, I don't know. I don't know why I'm successful, but I always trust my instinct. That's a typical answer from an entrepreneur. The literature, however, tell us that for strategic execution, the successful strategic execution, you've got three core processes. You've got your people process, your strategic process, and then your operational process. My colleagues already explained about Mr. Mashaba that believed in partnership. What he said is he knows that he, as a person, is not complete, and forming partnership with other people makes him a complete human being without. His wife also, Connie, which is also the MD of Black Like Me at the moment, she and I quote, my traits are built on three give what you want, Give people what give people what they want. Do not take customer service for granted, and do not be static. When you stagnate, you die. What we found is that the entrepreneur is actually the competitive advantage. So what you need from a competitor to be competitive, you need to understand your customers, you need to understand your rivals, you need to understand your product, and you need to have a competitive advantage. So understanding your customer, Mr. Mashaba grew up within his market. He knew exactly what the people want. He then formulated a product that will fill that gap, and he aligned his business or his strategy to fill that gap. What he also did then is he started working for Superco as just to infiltrate the enemy. So he started working for Superco to understand his competitive. He developed a competitive advantage, like we said previously. He enjoys partnership with others. So he went in partnership with Johan Kriel, which is the guy that developed the Black Like Meat product, and also came up with the name Black Like Meat. And the reason for that, Black Like Meat, is for that the market to identify with the product. What he also said is the slogan would say dedicated to black pride and beauty. He also then sold this product for less than his competitors, which in that time was Revlon, by 30%. Grow and sustainability, there at the bottom. What he said is he tried to deliver his products personally to his customer. That way he understands the demand, and he sees his customers face to face. And that way he expands and he sustains his business. And by that I'm handing over to.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. So I'll conclude our presentation by just looking at Mr. Mashaba's business mantras. The first one is around empower yourself, because knowledge is power, and as MBA students we can relate to that. Because if you empower yourself and you continually on this journey of learning, you will gain insights and understand the business environment much better. The second mantra is around commit to hard work and sacrifice, because nothing is just handed over to you. We saw the challenges that Mr. Mashaba had to endure, and then you can celebrate your achievements and value them more. The third mantra is take a long-term approach to business, because entrepreneurship is a journey and there are many discoveries and lessons to be learned during that journey. So don't be in a hurry. And then fourthly, stabilize your personal life. Now, I can relate to that, because you cannot be successful, you cannot lead people, you cannot run an organization if your personal life is in crisis. You are placing yourself at risk, and not just that, it's shifting your focus. And then the fifth mantra is enjoy what you do, because that's what energizes you and creates that passion. And this is why we've listened to Mr. Mashaba. He's still very much active. I don't know where he finds the time and the energy, but it's because he's doing something that he enjoys and that he's passionate about. And with that, I thank you for your attention.
Next slide.
Okay, so the next slide, we're now going to move on to Ludwig. Sorry, I keep on forgetting that I need to navigate here myself. So Ludwig Marischana, we're going to follow the same format.
Quicker.
Okay. Fondly known, I mean, his nickname is Head Boy. He was born in Mpumalanga in the north. And believe it or not, Ludwig became an entrepreneur at the tender age of 17. I mean, when I reflect on what I was doing at 17, I was really not thinking of starting a business. And how it came about was through a conversation with his friend and through sheer laziness around, you know, why do I have to bath? Why can't I just invent a product so that I can apply it on my skin and it will do the function of bathing? And that's where this concept originated from, dry bath. And typical new generation did all the research on his cell phone. Didn't have access to resources. He did everything via his cell phone. And then the result was that Headboy Industries was started in 2008 whilst he was in grade 12. Phenomenal. Recently he studied a Bachelor of Science, Business Science degree, majoring in Finance and Accounting at UCT. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Norma, who will take you through his strategic vision. Okay.
Okay, good evening again. In terms of the strategic vision of Headboy, it says to become the home of the African innovation, providing global solutions to global consumers. Their products, they're actually the gel and the services. Okay. The values that contribute to the achievement of the mission and the vision include the disciplined integrity, which means that their methods, their principles, their actions, everything that they do it and maintain it consistently. In terms of the inclusive innovation, that actually refers to 3 consulting services that they provide. The first one being polymath innovation. This one focuses at actually assisting the private and the government organizations in value-adding innovation that the organizations cannot develop in-house. The second one being inclusive innovation. This one is a dedicated program that focuses at academic and professional students. They give them actually the ability to become the high energy entrepreneurs and then also contribute in the development of the African society. And the second one being the Excel Uni. The third one. The third one is called Pioneers Uni. Then this one is aiming at university students becoming a high entrepreneur agents in the SA society and economy. The third core value being mindful ideology, where they use the understanding of the science and technology and the social ideas and their implications in contributing in the society. And thanks all.
Well, thank you. Okay, I'm going to quickly move on to Ludwig Marishani and give you his strategic leadership style. To be a summary on the young men. What we have discussed and seen about him is that he's right from the start focused on the global expansion. His research about the use of water was touching people in Uganda, all over the world. And also he has a passion for learning and mentoring others. And in that now we look at him as an innovative and also a transformational leader. He's also a visionary. His vision is to look at the globe and also to save people who cannot afford to get a bucket of water a week. Okay, I will hand over to Richard, who will give us successes as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm going to just quickly move on to Mr. Marishani as his success as an entrepreneur. Motivation. Motivation gives you purpose in a business. Mr. Marishani is a very, very motivated person. He strongly believes that if you're not involved with something, you're not going to learn. He goes out of his way in certain aspects within his business to get involved with different parts of the business to learn about each part of his business. as was previously mentioned, he was 17 when he first thought of the idea, did the research. At the age of 18, he was SA's youngest patent owner. He wrote out his business model. It was patented. It was, as I say, 18 years old. I mean, most of us when we were 18, we were not even thinking about those kind of things. He was also, in 2011, he was named Google of the 12 brightest young minds in the world. He also won the Global Entrepreneurship Award in 2011. Through the cash prize which he received for that, he's financing his global marketing endeavor, which he's going to put into that. He wants obviously to go global with that, and that's a good way of doing it. And then also in the 30s, the top 30 entrepreneurs under the age of 30. He was in the magazine in February 2013 also. So as you can say, just a few of his awards are top prestigious awards, and a fantastic entrepreneur, and definitely going to be going to places very, very high. I'd like to move on to Paul, who'll just do the last bit on strategic execution.
Okay, with Ludwig Marshana, strategic execution. Like Mr. Mashaba, he also grew up between his customers. So he started developing biodiesel and healthy cigarettes and started selling that under his community. So he continuously listened to demand. So when his friend said, "Won't it be nice to never have a bath again?" they laughed about it, but they thought about it. And typical entrepreneur started thinking about the business. He also acknowledges power of people. When he started his investigation as to develop dry bath, he went in partnership with Dr. Henny Duplessis, which is a chemical engineer. Again, he helped him with all the technical know-how of developing this product. He was also like we said with Mr. Mashara, is that he was also the strategic vision of the company. He understands his customers, but what he also did is after he developed this dry bath product, he said, no, I'm not just going to sell this to my local community. He calls this product the dry bath a lifesaver for the poor and a convenience for the rich. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to penetrate the market with going into a broader market section. That's the next question, or the next point, market penetration. That's exactly what he tried to do, cover the whole entire income spectrum. Okay, diversity and sustainability. Ludwig already, although he's only 5 years into business, he already started diversifying. He created XL Uni and Polymath Innovation, which is two different products helping students and employees to develop innovation. He also diversified into different or packaging the dry bath product into different containers, from bottles to sachets. Okay, with that I give over to Richard.
Okay. Thanks. That concludes our presentation on two very dynamic strategic entrepreneurs. Some key lessons and learnings for us as MBA students and future business leaders and entrepreneurs. We will take questions after the second presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. We group 15.1 will be presenting the same topics. I'm Vaughan Murley. This is Mpoli, Tembeko, and Monday. Monday and Tembeko will be discussing Ludwig Marshana, and the two of us will be discussing Mr. Mashaba. So I think With the Mpoli section, there are some differences, but with me, it was just an interest. And one special thing that I would ask whether you could share with us. I came across, let me just go through it, on the internet, this Solidarity Shadow report, where you laid a complaint saying that broad-based economic empowerment is discriminatory, and it's causing a brain drain, and there are other ways in the capitalist economy that we can provide jobs to make it so. I think that's the only thing that's different from you.
Okay. For me, what I liked about Black Like Me and Herman Mashaba is the fact that I think it was brought up in the other group that he values his family very much, and the fact that he values his family very much will mean that he will treat his employees as family, and when the employees are comfortable, it's easier for them to feel part of the team. And also what they do, now the one I'm going to talk about is different. The fact that what I read was that when they make decisions, it's not top management giving decisions to the bottom workers, but it's bottom-up approach, which means that they have confidence in their employees, which makes it easier for them to implement new strategies if there's need for them to adapt their corporate strategy with the dynamism of the environment. That's, well, it's not in here, but it's in my work. And then another issue that their communication is good. And another issue that they talk about is the fact that they believe when they merged with AMCA, they talked about the importance of trusting your alliances. So they trusted AMCA to be a good partner to be with. And the benefit of having AMCA was that they would access the bigger market, the Africa. They had, I think, 39 African countries that they can access, and they still have it. They've also gone into London. What I liked about London was that they also have changed their packaging. There must be sorry, I couldn't look into why they changed it, but it's different from these colors. So there must be a reason in that market why they needed to change that the packaging of their products. And then the 10 entrepreneurial strategies that are used for successful entrepreneurs. The previous groups talked about trusting their gut feel or their intuition. Not only did he trust his intuition, but his wife also stopped working as a bookkeeper, I think, and joined him to pursue their dream. Then they hear about the conventional wisdom, looking at the fears, what might not work, what might work. But no, they decided they're just going to jump in and not be fearful. They never let adversity or failure defeat you. They didn't put their hands on their head and say, hey, this is it, we can't go further. But in 2 weeks, he used his own money when the insurance company didn't want to pay to continue. And he actually had one outstanding interest that he got. He felt that he got his power from above. I think it says that he's Methodist, I think. And then so he didn't stop believing. He kept going even with adversities. And the way he competes here, there's this one where it says, hit them where they aimed. He maintains his pride. I remember as a little girl, the first time I processed my hair, I used Black Like Me. I think it was in 1990. And it was low priced, and I think it's still low priced. But my interest though is why don't you go into clicks? Why don't you go? Because it's not. It's no long. It's not. I don't think I find your product at Pick and Pay, but I know I still like Black Like Me. It's very good with my hair. I know. Yes, and then, but then, yeah. Also, what is nice about it? Black Like Me as a product doesn't have a lot of. People are moving. We are cutting our hairs. We are going bald. We are maintaining natural. We are growing dreadlocks. Instead of going through the process of doing that, AMCA with other products help you to go into those other markets, which I think is a good strategic move. I like the nodding. And then they never stop inventing themselves, which means that with the AMCA and all others, they still keep trying to see what the market wants. And one profound statement I found was that they say that I think it's Herman Mashaba who says she wants every black woman to be able to do her hair. So that for them to do that, they need to keep their prices low. So that's good.
Yes, I'm just going to give you a brief background into Mr. Marishane. And just to avoid any redundancies that were already mentioned, you can already see there, we do actually have a lot of his accolades, what he's actually doing at the moment. Where's the current MD? Google named him Mail Guardian, 200 South Africans, young South Africans over here. He's got a business science from UCT. And he's also the country's youngest patent holder and inventor. But over and above all of this, for me, I think there's something else that comes through from a different kind of paradigm with regard to Mr. Marishane. First of all and foremost, it's his youth. He was born in 1990. The other group did mention. Now, just for interest sake, how many people are under the age or over the age of 25 in this room? under the age of 25. and for me personally, just interestingly, I think his story, in contrast to the story of Mr. Herman Mashaba, is one of putting his best foot forward. Because I mean, from what we gather from the sources on the internet and everything, is that the business was still in its morphing and development stages. But I mean, the remarkable things that he's done in terms of his accolades, where he comes from. You know, he comes from Limpopo. Already at a younger age, he was showing attributes that were beyond. He's won a couple of awards that actually made him noticeable, that got him a scholarship to go to UCT. And as though that was not enough, he actually persisted more. He didn't allow the circumstances of his time, in a similar fashion like Mr. Mashaba, he came through a period of apartheid where opportunities weren't the same. He actually made the best of whatever resources that he actually had. Because now we do hear a story where he comes from Limpopo, he had limited resources and access to things like the internet. But despite all those challenges, he actually persisted and he actually did his research and he actually got down and didn't give up. And another interesting story that actually also comes across for me is that this wasn't his first invention. I mean, he's tried with the biodiesel as mentioned, and he's tried the healthier alternative to cigarettes, and all those failed. But I mean, that didn't deter him, and he still persisted and he went on. And yeah, over and above that, it's a lot of the stuff that the other group has already mentioned. So that's the only things I actually wanted to highlight from my side. Thanks.
Thanks, Manda. My name is Ndandako. My discussion on the topic of Ludwig Marishane is to look into what kind of innovation did this particular gentleman come up with. He came up with something that he could relate to. In literature, there's quite a mix-up as to whether they should term it radical or social innovation or disruptive innovation. If it's radical, just like the EFF, it just changes everything. His innovation was just, it was social, closer to what he believed in, like any other teenager, taking a bath sometimes. something else. Disruptive, changing the way things are done. When one talks of innovation, one will look at technological and social innovation. Ludwig's innovation was more of a social innovation, which is different from the technological innovation. When you talk of technological innovation, we talk of your phones and stuff. If you look at the setup of the technological innovation, with all of these, technical knowledge, research and design, ICT advancement, research and development, knowledge and creation, all those things explain about 25%. Social innovation, 75% of its success is dependent on the management knowledge. Do you know the people that you're dealing with? Do you know what the product that you're talking about? Education and experience. Have you experienced having no water in South Africa and in most African countries? It is quite something that happens every now and then. One other thing that should be noted, Ludwig Mashirane. If you look at his success, acquisition, integration, application of new knowledge. He knew nothing about science, but he created something that was beyond his capabilities. The social innovators, this is what makes them very good as compared to the other guys. One other thing, when you have an idea, these are the you must tick these boxes. But answer this question. You look for evidence if this existing idea of yours, is it something that is simple and alternative to something that is already out there. If it is, you have one last step to go. If you look at the innovation, are there people who could drive this particular thing? Is it good enough? One last step to go. And then if you find that, okay, all these two have been answered, you assess the perspective of the recipient to be able to implement such. In Africa, we know we're not only South Africans amongst us. Water is a scarce resource. Ludwig Mashaba's idea can be used all over the world. Basically, this is it from me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Prof, and thank you to everyone for really giving me the opportunity to come down to Port Elizabeth and be embarrassed and humbled, listen to people gossiping about you. But thanks very much, I really appreciate it. It's actually quite interesting listening to the presentations because I happened to be on Twitter, and I think about an hour ago or so, I was still in the hotel just before I left, coming over here, came across a tweet from Mr. Gwede Mantashe. Actually advocating something that's of quite interest to me because he's claiming that my products are like drugs. They are affecting the pride of black people, so I need to be stopped. Something actually quite interesting, and I obviously tweeted back, if you follow Twitter, said, it's interesting, Mr. Mantashe, because I'm going to be watching this with keen interest, because is this the kind of policy directions that people can expect going forward? I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware that I've been coming out quite open about government taking over our lives and asking government to leave us alone. So it looks like actually we're going to be seeing policy directions coming where government is going to be prescribing to black people what type of hairstyles they must wear. So black people must be really very concerned, and I think for me, I take that as an insult to black people that in fact this government doesn't really believe that black people are capable of doing anything for themselves, including now to the statement from Mr. Mantashe an hour ago that They're going to even be prescribing what type of hairstyles they must wear. Government is the one going to determine this. So I find this interesting, and this is not some kind of theory coming from me. This is coming from the Secretary General of the African National Congress, who are the ruling party of this government. So quite interesting. It's not just that your economic freedom that is going to be taken away from you. You're going to be even told what type of hairstyles to wear, what products to use. So very interesting future ahead of us. And obviously really looking at my background, born under the National Party and HF vote. You know, I was born in 1959, and the National Party in 1950 passed a piece of legislation called the Suppression of Communism Act. And I can invite you to go and Google, check what that piece of legislation actually prescribed. In 1959, when I was born, by law in this country, I was a communist. Because the Suppression of Communism Act of 1950 described me as a communist. By virtue of this God-created human being, I happen to be the way I am right now. When I jumped out of my mother's body, that's how God prescribed me. My parents, obviously I was a consequence of, I don't know whether my parents planned me or they were just having fun, and in the process, this is what happened. But obviously the National Party then declared that I was a communist. And we don't have to really go into that piece of legislation, but I think as students and future leaders of this country, it's important, one of the days when you get a chance, just Google, look at Suppression of Communism Act of 1950. Why I'm saying is I was declared a communist. So I grew up with this disdain to be called a communist. And for some reason, always really been suspicious and actually hated communists and socialists. That is for a reason why I've actually written this book titled Capitalist Crusader, because I'm a capitalist. I love the system. I love an opportunity for me to really be who I am, how God created me. Because God didn't really create us to be dependent on other people. God created us to be out there on an everyday basis to go and work for ourselves and our families. And those that can't kill, they cannot expect to eat. But especially when you're an able-bodied human being. Absolutely, I'm a full supporter of really helping people who are not able to really cater for themselves. But not able-bodied human beings who obviously decide that they don't want to work and expect me to work for them. So I'm totally against such policies, and I'm not apologizing to anyone about that, because when the government or country comes up with such policies, what you do, you take in incentives from people from wanting to be the best they can be. The reason why our country's economy is actually going backwards. We're not going backwards because the international economic market is not good. We, to a large extent in this country, 50% of the time, this country's underperformance is because of bad administration of our country's economy. It's got nothing to do with what's happening in the United States or in China or in India. I think it's actually a tragedy that you take such well-developed economies like the United States and the UK growing at a faster rate than us. It is actually a tragedy, because this country should really be growing at the minimum of 5%. This country's got the potential to grow at levels of just close to 10% growth, more especially now, because we've got everything going for us. But unfortunately, because of bad leadership, because of bad policies, the type of policies going to an extent of now telling people what type of hairstyles they must wear. Tragedy. You know, in 1994, when this country's miracle was conceived, I was really one of those proud South Africans, proud human beings. I thought, my freedom ultimately is here. Because I lived under, prior to 1994, I lived under unjust laws. And I had to, all the time, actually fight to really survive as a human being. In 1994, under the leadership of Mandela, we thought, and definitely Mandela lived and practiced what he preached. Coming out of a very difficult background, we're just really lucky to have had such leadership, because I grew up, and most of us never really believed that we'll ever see a peaceful transition. We've always known one day freedom will come, but we didn't know really what type of freedom, because looking at most of the African continent, we thought it was going to be a very violent transformation. A violent transformation, unfortunately, the consequences are such that you'd find it difficult to really progress as a country. So that was the fear, but that obviously didn't really hold us back from wanting our independence. So the miracle happened under Mandela's leadership. And when people are free in a country, I don't know if you, as part of your studies, you do economics. You study economics to really understand. When people are free, the economic development becomes easier, and the country started growing. Mandela was here, a great leader as an administrator. Only obviously time will tell, but he was a great leader in shaping and obviously promising us the future as a country, creating the kind of normalization of our society as what we thought we were going to achieve going forward. And here we are 21 years down the line in our democracy. I'm very worried again as a South African, because I have a government that believes in their success around polarizing us along racial lines as a country, and they expect to succeed. You don't honestly really have to be a genius, you don't have to really be a rocket scientist to really understand that the type of policies, discriminatory legislation that this current government is pursuing, you're bound to fail. You can try and really correct anyhow hard, and this is what this government is doing, coming out with what they call radical transformation. Radical transformation is going to be the destruction of our economy. We just received yesterday unemployment rate. We sit with over 8.5 million unemployed South Africans. And obviously for this government to correct it, they're going to be coming out with more discriminatory type of legislation. The more discriminatory legislation they're going to impose, the more this country is going to suffer. So this is some of the issues that I think for me are of real serious concern for the future of ourselves and our children. So the challenge is yours as really future leaders of this country. Some of us are already old, we already senior citizens of this country. But obviously I've got kids, and they're going to have kids. And I have my fellow South Africans that I believe deserve to really live in a normal kind of society, that we can really focus ourselves as one united nation. But unfortunately, under this current government, I cannot see this happening now. We saw yesterday the emergence and the success and the popularity of the EFF. And for me, I believe, and I really give them credit, because they're doing such a great job. But at the same time, you look at the economic policies. I mean, if you have going to elections, we have the EFF taking over. There's no way that this country will survive 6 months. Unless they are hoodwinking the voters to believe in what they are saying, which I think it will really be a disaster for them to change overnight. But under the current policies that they are advocating, there's no way. 6 months, this country will collapse. But at the same time, the majority of the voters out there are extremely vulnerable, because people are poor, families are breaking in our communities because of high unemployment. You know, I keep telling people now, really I feel so fortunate to be who I am today, because and for having started my business, working career and business under apartheid, under that evil system. Because I've been watching the last 21 years. If I was born or I had to really start my business as a young Herman in Amanskral in Haramutsu at the age of 20 with no university degree, with no work experience. Today it's much more difficult than it was during apartheid. Because during apartheid, as much as for me as a black person, I knew the National Party had unjust laws. But I was fortunate in the sense that there was no government that prescribed to me who I must work for and how much they must pay me. The decision was mine. I keep telling South Africans in the world that my first job at SPAR, if ever SPAR thought they were exploiting me, they made a terrible mistake. I exploited SPAR. I got an opportunity, 175 rands a month, absolutely not happy. Even if they gave me 500 rands, I would not have really been happy. But what the job gave me was an opportunity to climb up the ladder. I worked for them for 7 months, and during the 7 months I worked hard. By the time I handed in my resignation, they didn't believe it, that why lose such a productive young man. But the decision wasn't SPAR, it was mine, because someone else offered me 100 rands more than what SPAR was offering me. By the time they realized it was already too late and I was moving on. Worked for Motani Industries for 23 months. Became very close to the family. It was an Indian-owned business. They liked me because I worked extremely hard. And I wasn't really working hard for them. I was working hard for myself because I needed to really learn. I needed to save money to be able to really move forward. But the tragedy of our country today, where the government itself is the one that's discouraging people from working. They're saying to our people that they're going to be exploited. They must not trust the business. Business should not really make profit. I find the logic so weird. And that's the reason why millions of our people today, why should they work? Because the government is there telling them about minimum wages, they must earn 12,500, and I don't know who's going to pay them 12,500 because there's no business in this country that's going to ever afford. Even if government can pass laws and get the army to get business to pay the 12,500, they can't. The businesses don't have that kind of money to pay them. But then the psyche of our people is such that they are told not to really trust employers. So, because they don't want our people to be exploited. And that's the reason why people are sitting at home. We sit with a big number of foreigners who are in fact taking advantage of these opportunities. Young girls, 14, 15, being incentivized and paid to make money. The more, make children. The more children you make, the better incentive that you get from the government. And you don't have to have a partner, because when you have a partner, the government stops supporting you. So the only way that you can really be under government, just keep on making babies, including actually, if you contract HIV and AIDS, it's even better because they pay you more. And with HIV and AIDS, you're not going to die, because they will still really make sure that they protect you, they'll give you medication. And you ask yourself, why is the government really destroying people like this? I think only themselves can really tell us why they're doing it. But obviously what they tell us in public is that they do this because they care. We have situations in our communities. One of the issues that I keep fighting in public platforms is about these school feeding schemes. Government tells us they are addressing poverty by very proud of saying we feed our kids, we give them free education, we give them food at school. You can imagine I'm a 6-year-old, 7-year-old boy going to school. Before I start class, I must be fed by the government. You know what it does to my psyche as a person? Take away the dignity. Because by the time you start, after being fed, your peers in class who come from relatively good families, what will happen to the psyche of this little child who their parents are unable to really feed them, take away their dignity. So it looks like for me, it's like it's a government's plan actually to take away the dignity at a very young age. That's the reason why they come out quite openly, they don't like clever blacks. So that's why they feel probably, I think, the only way they can maintain their power is to take away that dignity at a very young age so that they're dependent on government. Is that the kind of society and country we want to live in? If we so then believe, then I can assure you South Africans, you're going to have major problems going forward. Because it's a totally unsustainable system. But fortunately enough, university students the last few weeks, they've already demonstrated that they're not happy with what's happening. And I hope that they can really make the difference. We're really going forward. I think for me as a business person, I've taken a hard decision to really write books about my experiences, about some of the things that I believe in and some of them that I don't really believe in, so that really people can read. You don't have to really learn or agree with me, but you can just really have an opportunity to really listen to another voice. So thanks very much for really taking education as a priority, because for me, without the necessary skill base, our country is going to really be doomed. So I'm always encouraged. That's the reason why I accept this type of invitation, leaving my family behind. I'm not here because I don't have anything else to do. I'm here because I actually value. Every time I see, more especially fellow South Africans, taking education to really be the vehicle, to be the instrument that we can use to really make this continent one day a proud continent and a proud country. So thanks very much for listening to me and really giving me the opportunity. You've already done most of the research about me, so I don't have to really repeat that point in time. I thought let me just really use the opportunity to really give you my macro thinking about the future of this country as a businessman. In terms of selling hair products, paying black women, I've already done that. And black women have handsomely compensated me. So thank you very much for that, so you've really made me, you liberated me. But one thing for sure is that, and something that I obviously very, very strongly believe in, is the fact that when I'm in a business environment, I don't expect people to do me a favor, because that's something that I don't understand when people say, no, people supported me. Well, supported me? Why? I'd really like to really be in that environment, because it's just a dream. Because people will never, human beings will just not going to buy a product because they want to support someone else. Why should they support you? When then you must support them as well. Business is not about support. It's about making sure that you give people what they want. When you give people what they want, I can tell you, I'm a living example of how people will compensate you. They will pay you and make you rich. But at the end of the day, it's about you really giving them what they want, not what you want. So that's really what I thought I'd just really share with you, that I appreciate the opportunity to really be involved in this type of interaction and engagement. And as I said, all of the best, and really hope one of the days I'll be investing in your businesses, in your thoughts, or you'll be working for me, or I'll be working for you. Though I don't think I'm employable any longer, because I've been in business for the last 35 odd years. What do I know? I can assure you it's very dangerous. So actually, most of the time when I address audiences, I always, more especially MBA students, I always ask them to listen to me at their own risk. I actually want an indemnity, because honestly, what I know, it's really very dangerous. I was never really tested. But one thing for sure is that I've learned in the process, including obviously my relationship, the 2-year relationship with Colgate, for me was really one of the best MBA programs any human beings can ever be afforded that opportunity. Because mine wasn't where I went in voluntarily. I obviously did the transaction voluntarily because I thought we were going to make a lot of money. And in the meantime, it turned out actually to be a learning experience. And I think for me, I believe the old man upstairs, that's the one that designed. Because he realized this mad entrepreneur doing things in an informal manner. I've got to really give him an opportunity to learn the formal structure. And got me into that relationship with Colgate. And Colgate's relationship that 2 years was the best. Because it cost me, that MBA over 2 years, I don't know how much you guys are paying, but mine, I can tell you, cost me over 10 million rand of training. And really came out of that relationship a stronger, much more matured business person. Unfortunately, I don't have the papers. I don't have a professor to really give me the certificate that I've learned something. It is for that reason I'm saying, please listen to me at your own risk. So take what you believe that you agree with, and whatever you don't agree with, then that's fine. I mean, that's what life is all about. So good luck with your studies and all of the best for your future. Okay.